What sort of setup do you have for accountability?
How many security guards do you have on site?
They were glossing over all of that.
Big fat ripoff.
They're all about making money off us, and we're pissed.
But the show was going to go on.
I think we need to see a whole hell of a lot more!
Oh, couldn't agree more!
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, I'm Brian Brushwood, but more importantly, like swear to me, Bryce, that I didn't already see the show. Like this is a different version of a documentary of Woodstock 99.
Yeah, so that was a trailer for Cluster, F word, Woodstock 99, which is a documentary on the infamous music festival. This is Netflix's version of the story. Last year, about a year ago now, HBO had a Music Box is the name of their docuseries where they also covered Woodstock 99. So this is a new one. Well, I think they've got some new interviews, but that's coming to Netflix August 3rd.
It's understandable that would happen because you can't go 2 feet down the street these days without somebody bringing up Woodstock 99. And our guest knows that full well. Host of Coverville, Brian Ibbott.
That's right. I'm lining up for Woodstock 99-22. That's the one I want to see.
Wait.
Yeah, so that would be the 23rd anniversary.
Right, yes. Yeah, exactly.
22.99 or
99.23. Yeah. The one that's coming out is Woodstock 99-22. Next year it'll be Woodstock 99-23.
Got it.
All new and improved.
Yeah. Clear as bell. Thank you. Brian Ibbott, are you prepared?
I am prepared.
For our primary target?
Better hope you are.
Marvel announced a lot of things at San Diego Comic-Con this weekend. We're going to assume that many of you may have familiarized yourselves with one or two of them. So we're going to focus here on what we think are the bigger ones. Let's start with the phases. Now, we're going to go into the movies themselves and the shows themselves in a little detail in a minute, but let's just start with the fact that they rolled out the next two phases, and when we're going to finish up the current one, phase 4. So phase 4 is going to end with She-Hulk Attorney at Law on Disney Plus August 17th on the TV side, and Black Panther Wakanda Forever on November 11th. So Black Panther will be the end of phase 4. Phase 5 will kick off with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania on February 17th, then proceed through Secret Invasion on Disney Plus, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, May 5th, Echo on Disney Plus, Loki Season 2, The Marvels movie on July 28th next year, Blade movie in November next year, Ironheart on Disney Plus, Agatha Coven of Chaos on Disney Plus, and Daredevil Born Again in 2024 on Disney Plus. Captain America New World Order, May 20th, 2020 or May 2024, and then Thunderbolts will end phase 5 in July 2024. Phase 6 will be the final phase in the multiverse saga, kicking off with a Fantastic Four movie on November 8th, 2024. No casting announced on that yet. And there will be some other movies in there, and it will end with Avengers Kang Dynasty, May 2025, and Avengers Secret Wars, November 2025. Overall, what do you think of that layout of the multiverse saga? And we'll get to the individual movies in a minute.
Now, before Brian chimes in, because I know you have strong opinions about all of this, I was able to see Bryce the entire time. You were just laying truth bomb after truth bomb. And boy, oh boy, it just looked like you said the word phase, the happier Bryce got. He was like, another phase? It started to bounce up and down in his chair. Like, am I right, Bryce? You love phases.
I love phases.
Yeah.
This is a lot of phases to go through very quickly.
Well, which is why you were so excited.
I'm so excited because I love all of them.
Are you upset with me just going through them fast? Or are you upset that Marvel has phases? Because it's not like that's news.
Pulling down the curtain. I do find it annoying that Marvel wants to announce and then in the third act, it's revealed that he's actually the villain.
But it's just the calendar of when the movies are coming out.
These phases are also only like 2 years, a year or two. That's not a phase. That's a year. I don't know. Ibbott, do you like this? Are you a fan?
There are aspects of it I like. Obviously, knowing all of these lineups is great, and being able to anticipate and maybe at some point we're actually going to get overlapping series on Disney Plus. We have one series and another series on at the same time. What I miss about this, and what I think a lot of people miss about this, is where is the end of phase wrap-up movie? Avengers Age of Ultron, Infinity War, etc. Wakanda Forever, great, I'm excited for the film, but is it going to be like this all-encompassing, it's all been leading to this with Ms. Marvel and I guess we're not getting her until the Marvels movie next year. What is wrapping up all this stuff, the Eternals and Shang-Chi and all this stuff that we had built up with Phase 4 to get us into, all right, what's going to happen next in Phase 5 kind of thing. It just feels like, these are all the movies we decided we'd release this year. That'll end Phase 4.
So to be sincere to your question, Tom, it's not that I'm upset about them announcing multiple phases or anything like that. It's just that all of this type of presentation feels like it belongs more in a quarterly investors meeting than it does at San Diego Comic-Con. Does that track with you or no?
No, I disagree, and I'm not sure that I'm in the majority. I think maybe people are just getting tired of hearing it. Maybe they're getting tired of Marvel movies, because when they first announced phases at all, people were excited. They were excited because they had a plan, and the fans want to know that the plan is, and they're excited that there is a plan. I think maybe what you're experiencing, and maybe not, maybe it is just simply the clinical way they announce this, is that we're unconvinced that by the plan. It's that the plan doesn't look that great. It doesn't look connected the way Brian Ibbott was saying just a second ago, where you very clearly led up to Avengers, then Avengers Age of Ultron, right?
Each phase was a story arc, with a whole bunch of different smaller stories in it that all led to a big finale. And then we go into the next phase, and where do we start that phase from? And
I think if that was clear here, you wouldn't care that it felt like an investor presentation in any way. You'd just be excited about the message, right?
In theory, yes. As it stands,
because it's not like this is a new way of announcing the movies. I guess
correct. And we saw how it turned out last time they did this, right? I didn't much love it. The weird part is, it seems like they're leading up to something I should be very, very, very excited about, which is eventually getting to Secret Wars or whatever. So it's like you have Secret Invasion. We get introduced to the Skrulls. We have a reason for all of the heroes from all time and all places being scooped into one planet to do battle to the end for power's sake or whatever. I don't know, man. I'm getting a little fatigued. Ibbott, am I crazy at this point?
No, I think there's something to that, and I think that it's the fatigue of, hey, here's another movie, no connection to the last movie you just saw. Here's another movie. We got that one guy who kind of makes an appearance, but other than that, no real connection to all the other movies we've released this phase. How about this one? Yeah, no real connection to the other movies released this phase, but it might have that other guy in it. It doesn't feel like you're watching smaller parts to a bigger story like it has before, and I think that's why it feels like fatigue, why it feels like a rehash, or why it feels like they're just doling out serving after serving without giving us an idea of what this meal is leading up to, what this meal is supposed to be.
To play devil's advocate, like, it could be that is simply the nature of long-term projects that take months, if not years, to complete, just being different from month-over-month comics, right? It's like for comic books, you're able to keep on just making up whatever will grab attention.
Yeah, but there are still story arcs within those comic books, right? You might get a 20-issue storyline in Spider-Man that wraps up a larger saga. There's still, like, within each of those individual stories, each of those individual issues, you get a separate story, but then you've got one full story that takes place over the course of 20 issues and is resolved before the next story starts up. And I'm just not seeing that with this. With the first, even if you don't look at the each phase wrapping up with a full Avengers movie, you still had the stinger elements that said, oh, look, Tony Stark is assembling a bunch of different heroes to all, work together. We don't even know if there's a big bad, but we know that they're all working together. And then phase 2, oh, look at this. We're getting this tease of this mad titan who is collecting stones or collecting, following up on all of the other events that occurred in that movie. With this one, we're getting great stingers, great, ooh, look at this fan service character we haven't seen before in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or this character, or Harry Styles for some reason. But we're not getting Shang-Chi is leading into Eternals, is leading into Doctor Strange, is leading into the next thing. And that's what I think we had in the first phases that we don't have now.
A couple of things to consider. One, phase 4 was wrecked by COVID.
It was,
I'm not saying phase 4 would have been perfect if there had never been COVID, but phase 4 feels disconnected because it's disconnected, because they weren't able to release the movies in the order they wanted, in the way that they wanted. They weren't able to release the TV shows that way. So phase 4 is a mess. That's going to bias us right there. Then there's the fact that this is an incredibly difficult thing to achieve over one phase, and they've done it over 3. So even if there's no COVID, the idea that they could keep it going for phase 4, 5, and 6 just as well is a tall order. And maybe they can't do it. Maybe the magic has run dry. The final thing that I would throw out for consideration is, you may just be tired of these movies. Usually a genre of movie does not last forever. James Bond is kind of an exception across, the decades, but most franchises in movies have never continued, which is why you don't have franchises in movies. And you can count on one hand the number that are truly successful, like Star Wars, like Marvel. So I don't know. It's not a guarantee that they were going to be able to make this go on perfectly forever. And maybe that is what we're seeing.
Maybe. I mean, we also didn't get multiple James Bond movies a year and multiple Star Wars movies a year. And so there's absolutely some fatigue coming from that.
Well, I have a hot take, but Bryce, real quick, where does your heart, as somebody who probably did not read all of the comic books, land right now?
I mean, I've had Marvel fatigue for a while now, and having in the past few years really take a very soft approach. I'll watch it if it seems good or if I like it. Has actually helped out quite a bit. It has helped replenish some of my appetite for these films, because it's not that they're bad. It's not that they don't look good or have, serviceable scripts and stories. It's just that it's a lot of it, and it's a lot of the same type of thing, the same type of emotion, the same type of energy. We get it. The good guys are going to beat the bad guys. I got it. The good guys are going to win. You're not going to surprise me anymore. So you need that time to build up that appetite, I think.
So, Tom, I'm trying to resolve this sentiment that I very much agree with from Bryce, with the fact that all things being equal, I dug the straight up candy of Thor: Love and Thunder, right? So,
and I haven't even watched it. I have not gone and seen it. I've seen other movies since then, not because I think it's bad.
I can't even with a straight face tell you that you're missing much. I mean, it's just candy.
I bet it's good. I bet candy's delicious.
Yeah.
Candy, sugar, so sweet.
But I know what Thor and his friends are going to be doing for an hour and a half.
I mean, are we entering the phase where it's just like this is all too familiar and it's run its course?
Maybe we may be, and I think this is okay if we are as viewers running into. You don't need to see every Marvel movie. And I don't know what that's going to mean for the phases, whether that will cause them to buckle down and outdo themselves in phases 7, 8, and 9. But I hear more people speaking like Bryce, speaking like both Brians in saying like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I like every movie. And I think that's fine. You don't. In fact, let's run through the various announcements and see how we feel about the movies themselves. Let's start with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Trailer seems like a very emotional send-off for Chadwick Boseman. It will introduce Siri Williams, aka Ironheart, as a character who will eventually get her own spin-off series. But what did you think of that trailer?
That one I did not see, Brian.
Yeah, I saw it, and I'm excited for the tone. That might be another part of the fatigue. Those early Marvel movies felt like different genres, different styles. A heist movie for the Ant-Man movie, a political thriller for Captain America: Winter Soldier, Thor and Doctor Strange and Eternals and all these ones we've gotten recently have all felt like they're in that same in one consistent tone, one steady tone without any variation. Wakanda Forever feels like it's finally in a different tone. Yeah, I mean, there's a good reason not to have comedy elements, but we've got a little bit more of a somber take, not just because of Chadwick Boseman, but also just because the Black Panther movies feel like they need more of a serious feel instead of being the Taika Waititi joke a minute kind of thing. We're finally getting a look at a new big bad with Prince Namor, Submariner, which is interesting, something that people have been waiting for a long time. And I don't know, it felt like a nice break from the tone we've seen from the last 3 or 4 of these.
I am intrigued by the mystery of what they're going to do with Black Panther. It seems like it's gonna be somebody new, and maybe it's Shuri, but I'd be very excited if it was Shuri, but we'll see. I want to see more trailers because I think it was right for them to start by focusing on the fact that Chadwick Boseman will not be here to play Black Panther, because everybody's thinking that, and they want to be very respectful of him because they loved him. I want to see more trailers that give me a hint of why this is wrapping up the phase and what else is going on with it. We also got a trailer for She-Hulk Attorney at Law. How are you feeling about that one, Brian?
Oh my goodness, did I enjoy every second of all of it. I enjoyed the tutelage of cousin Bruce Banner to his cousin, the Attorney at Law, She-Hulk. I enjoyed the experimentation. Anytime you test the bounds of a world where it's like he's on purpose messing with her, trying to wake her up and see whether or not she stays green or turns back to green, what have you. This was one of my favorite comics back when I was 16, 17 years old. And there was even a hint that it gave me my favorite piece of the entire show, which was that moment where she looks dead down the camera and just is like, this guy. I have no idea how much or how little we'll get of that, but I love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, seems to be the first time we're seeing a fourth wall being broken in anything Marvel, and I'm excited about that too.
Except for Deadpool, of course.
Oh yeah, right. Anything MCU, I should clarify. Yeah, it fits the comic style, so I'm really excited to see it. I love seeing. I was thinking Mark Ruffalo was going to be a, 2-minute thing at the beginning, and then we weren't going to get any more Ruffalo. But judging by the trailer, we're going to get a lot of Ruffalo, which is fantastic. Yeah. And I like the tone.
All right, we can move through these as faster or as slow as you want. Ant-Man 7, the Wasp, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantum Mania. I don't know why I said 7. We'll introduce Kang the Conqueror, the He Who Remains variant. We didn't get to see this trailer, but we heard about it.
Right, and MODOK.
So I'm tempted to, by default, not be excited about it. However, I do have to acknowledge that wherever mystery lies, opportunity lies. And the wider this space is, the more opportunities to surprise me there are. So while my gut says, I don't know, my heart says, please be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for King, but I'm even more excited for MODOK, which was another reveal from this thing, from the movie. Character that I've wanted to see, and I was disappointed by the Patton Oswalt Hulu show, so maybe getting to see something done right with MODOK. The dumbest character, but one of the greatest, dumbest characters ever. I'm excited for.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3, they showed a trailer in the hall, but then James Gunn said that the special effects aren't ready for repeated viewing, which is what you're going to get online. But from what we hear, it's set to the Flaming Lips Do You Realize? Shows Gamora as the leader of the Ravagers, not remembering anyone, and delves into Rocket Raccoon's origins. Also, James Gunn said this will be the last Guardians movie. He's like, everything has an end, and this will be the end of that.
Not for nothing, but like the first 2 Guardians movies were strangely this fusion of characters that you liked along with music your dad liked. And now, for the first time, we're having characters we like fused with music we like. By we, I mean 40-something-year-old men.
Named Brian Brushwood.
Yes, exactly.
I was going to say, I must be your dad, because I liked all the music in the first one,
the Flaming Lips. Yeah.
He's got a Zune now. He can have more current music. He can just get that squirted from the Microsoft servers or something. I don't know how that all that used to work, but nice touch of getting the Rocket origin, and maybe the fact that they're saying that this is the wrap up of the story arc means that they can do some things that they don't normally get to do if they're expecting a 4th or a 5th or a 6th film. They can kind of take some advantage of that.
They can release these characters into other stories without worrying how that's going to tie into the next Guardians movie. And I think that's
we're getting the I Am Groot animated series in a couple of weeks.
Not part of the continuity though.
Oh, really? Not lore?
Yeah. No, not MCU.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Captain America New World Order. It'll be the first time out for Sam Wilson after the events of Falcon and the Winter Soldier as Cap. First time out with him as Captain America.
Provisional yay.
All right. Provisional yays around the horn. I'm with you all. I am excited about seeing Anthony Mackie as Captain America. I have no idea what they're going to do with this now that it's not Steve Rogers as Captain America. So I await the revelation, but I don't have any expectations, which may be good, right? Maybe this will blow me away.
This is one that actually felt like it could have been the phase ending, the place for a good phase ending story, as opposed to Thunderbolts, which you're going to bring up here in a second. But Captain America felt like, Civil War was such a great collection of all of these storylines and all these heroes we'd gotten to know over the previous movies that it could have been a phase ender. But so who knows what we're getting in that means that Thunderbolt is a better ending to the phase.
Daredevil Born Again will have Charlie Cox, who was Daredevil in the Netflix series, playing Daredevil here. Of course, he's appeared in the other movies, so we knew that was happening. Vincent D'Onofrio, as well as Kingpin, has also appeared in other Marvel properties. Those are both confirmed to be in the series, and it will be an 18-episode series starting in spring 2024.
It's
huge. Look, we probably shouldn't place bets and gamble on which one will be better. But hypothetically, if we were, where would you place your bet and which one would be better?
I think the Netflix series being better, and obviously everybody's going to have a different outcome, so your mileage may vary depending on what you like. But for me, like just speaking for me, I think there's a better chance that I will not like this as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's flexibilities that they had on Netflix that they won't have on Disney Plus that this character needs. So
we agree.
Well,
the Netflix one was so good. There's no way it could top it. Yeah. How could you top it? Bryce, what about you? Why do you agree with us?
Yeah. I think the reasons I will be proved wrong is they have a more compelling story. They can tap into the wider universe and pull some elements out, but they don't abuse that privilege. And they somehow prove to me that they've got 18 episodes worth of content here. I mean, that's actually one of the biggest things, right? Thunderbolts. Julia Louis-Dreyfus's Allegra de Fontaine will pull together the alternate Avengers, sometimes described as Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad. In the comics, they have been villains. They have just been anti-heroes. They've been all over the place. How are we feeling about this? We don't really know that much more about it, to be honest.
I mean, look, as I've mentioned before, I've given up on ever betting against Disney because even when it looks most like they're totally screwed, they get me. So I'm going to say, I hope it's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, same thing, you know, we still have a lot of dark versions of characters to see before we know what this is going to be, but we've gotten U.S. Agent from the Captain or the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show. You know, we're going to get a dark Thor or a dark Iron Man or something like that to kind of round it out. Who knows? But
I think you're going to get Natasha's sister.
Oh, sure. Dark Black Widow.
Yep.
Florence Pugh, Black Widow. Yeah.
Yep. And heading back to Daredevil real quick. This is a good observation from Dan Wally. Disney has more money to spend, so maybe you'll see more superpowers from Daredevil. That could be a reason why it improves on the other one. 2 Avengers movies do not have the Russos attached right now. Feige says he still wants to do something with them, even if it's not that. I don't know if that's public negotiation or just him wanting to have a different set of hands on these particular Avengers movies. They did not mention the movie Armor Wars. That would be Tony Stark's tech falling into the wrong hands and War Machine having to deal with it. That one's been kicking around there as a rumored title. Maybe that rumor is not true. Maybe that goes into phase 6 and that empty spot in there. And we mentioned briefly animated titles coming in droves. What If is getting a season 3. Marvel Zombies is coming. Spider-Man Freshman Year will be an animated series set prior to the events of Captain America Civil War. And then 2 animated series outside of the MCU. So one is I Am Groot, as we mentioned, and the other is X-Men 97.
Warrior MK in the chat points out, like, Armor Wars sounds like a flop. Don't blame you. As somebody who read it while it was contemporary, what was interesting about it is that you had a good guy who was disabling the armor of other guys, both good guys and bad guys, based purely on intellectual property rights, because he felt like they unfairly stole his stuff. So I will say, if I was going to place a bet, yes, it probably would not be very good today. But at the time, it was like punk rock. Imagine if the was it the DMCA or whatever just went around and yanked out all of the chips of everyone's computers. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's good. It's a better name than, you know, Iron Man and the NDA of Madness or something like that.
Yeah. You know, it's fine if Disney wants to do their focus grouping in our chat room. We get that, but you know, just give us an announcement one way or the other if you're not going to make the movie. We are supported entirely through the sufferance of our listeners.
Yes. How much have you suffered today for us? Brian Ibbott, have you suffered today?
I have not, but I'm geared up. I'm ready to suffer if I need to.
Well, sufferance in the sense of like tolerating and supporting, not suffering in the sense of misery.
Oh, certainly, yes.
I mean, we'll take either currency. like I'm down for either.
Grant us sufferance is what we're saying.
That's right. Okay. Have you had a bad day? Good. You're welcome. This bad day brought to you by Cordkillers. Would you rather have had a good day? Well, guess what? If you had headed on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers, if you had signed up and gotten us all the way up to 4 digits of patrons, then you wouldn't have had such a bad day. So really, you brought it on yourself, and I've got nothing but antipathy for you.
Yeah, anti-pithy. We are against being pithy. That's why the show is as long as it is. And
that's right. I'm going to go even longer, Tom.
For.
I'm glad you brought up the origins of the words antipathy. That means I get to explain to you the rules of the game of Monopoly. Here we go. Okay, are you ready?
I think we have to move on.
Sorry.
Unless we need to get
Patreon.com/Cordkillers just got a new patron, which means we now have to move on. If you want to make sure that we don't explain the rules of Monopoly to you.
I swear to God. I swear. This is my threat. Next week, I'm going to explain the rules of Monopoly as written by the Milton Bradley Corporation.
Oh, gosh. I hope.
Unless we get another patron.
Unless we get more patrons. So.
Then we'll talk about how to watch.
Yes.
Loads of Netflix news, especially because they had their big earnings report last Tuesday, losing 970,000 subscribers, and it was good news. It was the second quarterly drop in subscribers. It was its largest drop in subscribers yet, but it was less than everyone expected. So everybody was like, wow, it's technically less than 1 million. Good job, Netflix. Netflix fell by 1.3 million in the US and Canada, about 770,000 in Europe and West Asia, gained 1 million in Asia Pacific, while staying essentially flat everywhere else. So where they've been around the longest, they lost subscribers. Even with the subscriber decline, the company revenue was up 8.6% over last year, mostly because of price rises. Netflix projects a gain of 1 million this coming quarter. So they say that the reset is over, that they're going to head back into growth starting next quarter. But the part that matters most to us is the details. On Tuesday or last week, we talked about a test going on in Latin America to combat account sharing. Netflix plans to launch one of its plans worldwide sometime in 2023. So we got more details on that password sharing plan. They're going to launch it in 2023 for everyone. Didn't say when, could be at the end of next year, but you are going to get it everywhere next year. Netflix also said it will launch its advertising supported tiers in markets where ad spending is significant starting in 2023. The company previously had hoped to launch the plans by the end of this year, but Netflix has delayed that now. It keeps insisting that its way of doing ads will be fundamentally different than linear TV, so we await that. One new bit of info on the ad-supported tiers is that not all the content you get on ad-free Netflix will be available on ad-supported Netflix. Now, this isn't because Netflix is trying to get you to move up to a higher paid plan. It's because Netflix can play ads only if the license lets it. So anything that Netflix owns, it can play an ad next to. So if it owns it, not a problem. It can go on the ad-free tier or on the ad tier. But not all the licenses allow that. Even some shows that are called Netflix originals may have restrictions if they're actually made by someone else. TechCrunch points out that Warner Brothers owns the licensing to You. Not You, I mean the show You. Universal owns Russian Doll. Sony produces The Crown and Cobra Kai. The Wall Street Journal noted that Netflix is in talks with all three of those companies about new deals. Co-CEO Ted Sarandos said Netflix, quote, will clear some content, but certainly not all of it by the time the new tiers launch. So they're going to launch these ad-supported tiers, and it's not going to be one-to-one catalog with the ad-free tiers. But Sarandos said the vast majority of what people watch on Netflix, we can include in the ad-supported tier. So we tried to calm down those fears. We got a couple other things we want to talk about that they announced, but Brian, let's stop there. How do you feel about that new wrinkle in the ad-supported Netflix?
Brian Ibbott, it sounds to me like we've seen this coming from a long way away, and all of a sudden we're supposed to be surprised that this problem is here.
They've created a new spatula to go under the paid tier to lift it up so they could kind of wedge another tier in there, and I'm sure prices will follow. Another reason probably it's taking so long is because they've got to go in and in the stuff that they can add ads to, they've got to figure out where in the show is the logical breakpoint, right? Like that's got to take some time.
And Netflix keeps saying it's not going to be the same. My guess is they're not going to put breaks in. They're going to do something else. I don't know what it is, but they keep heavily implying that they're not going to interrupt the flow of the shows.
Anytime a television appears in a Netflix television show, it'll be running an ad
in the background. All right, we got a couple other Netflix changes of heart. We've talked about how they've gone after password sharing, when in the past they seemed to almost kind of encourage password sharing. We talked about how they were kind of saying, nah, we don't really want to do ads. And then they said, oh, we're losing subscribers, let's do ads. Another change is Netflix talking ratings. The company cited a Nielsen estimate that Netflix made up 7.7% of all U.S. TV viewing in June. That's 1.334 trillion minutes, making Netflix the most viewed TV service in the U.S., ahead of second place CBS, the broadcast channel, at 753 billion minutes. CBS is the number one network in the U.S. right now, if you don't count streaming like Netflix. Co-CEO Reed Hastings said, it's definitely the end of linear TV over the next 5 to 10 years, Brian.
Man, I'm just too busy wondering if I believe or not. But the answer is no, I don't believe. I think that Netflix is in serious trouble, and it doesn't seem to have any kind of codified strategy right now.
I think that is an impressive number, though, to say like everybody's upset that we're headed in the wrong direction, but we're so far ahead that once we turn this around, we are dominant. That 1.334 trillion minutes is huge.
Yes.
Yeah, almost double CBS. Yeah.
Yes, and that's the type of thing that you bother to point out when you're in trouble. Like
right.
Ideally, they would never have to
CBS
point
constantly does when people talk about the death of broadcast television, and yet they're also the number 2 or number 1 network and the number 2 most watched thing in the United States. I think it's easy to lose sight of that. Of like, sure, they aren't doing as well as they used to do, and maybe they should be doing better, but they're not doing bad.
This is also the part where we remind all of our listeners that weirdly, it doesn't matter how good or poorly they're doing. What matters is how they're perceived by the shareholders in terms of momentum, of what they expect to see from them. And yes, it's totally unfair to be held to that standard, but that's the nature of that game.
And now this is the part where I have to divulge that I own a very small amount of Paramount stock, because I once was granted stock by CNET, which was bought by CBS, which merged with Viacom to become Paramount.
Sounds like good business.
So I'm a shareholder, and I'm not pleased. But also, honestly, it's not worth that much anyway, even if it went way up. So
I want to see you like show up angry at a meeting and like throw something.
Waving my 10 shares.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I thought it was significant that Netflix was citing ratings at all. And Brian, you kind of touched on that. Like that's the move of somebody who doesn't feel like they're winning in the other ways, right?
And I hope that that doesn't come across as like I have no inside sauce on any of this, but all I know is that is not the move of somebody who's already crushing it and winning. Those are the moves of somebody who needs to convince other people that they're still in the game.
Yeah. The company also addressed suggestions that it might do better if it released episodes on a weekly schedule, like most other outlets do. We've had that discussion over the years. Is it better to build up the water cooler talk and release them on a weekly schedule? HBO does it. Disney does it. Peacock does it. Netflix said It's the old Netflix. Brian, you're going to feel much more comfortable. Netflix said it likes the freedom of not having to do theatrical releases for its movies and letting customers choose how to watch a series. It considers both of those things to be significant long-term business advantages.
And I actually agree with him. Like, weirdly, not in a Netflix context, but instead, like our Flagman's death, the fact that they would release 3 episodes in a row and then next week do 3 episodes in a row, then 3 episodes in a row. I think that played really, really well for them. So, like, Netflix is... One of the curious aspects of being in the number 1 spot is that the worst move you can make is to make any move and say anything. So keep your mouth shut. Good job, Netflix.
Do you think, Ibbott, that they should go to a weekly schedule or a 3 at a time schedule or something like that?
It's funny because how did we get the most recent season of Stranger Things in 2 big chunks? So they kind of are giving you both, right? They're saying, hey, here's binge all of this Stranger Things that we're giving you. But when you're ready for the next segment of it, well, we're going to wait a month and then give it to you. So they're figuring out a way to make us feel like we're getting to binge, but still encouraging that anticipation, the water cooler talk of
Netflix poured cold water on that
season.
idea in their earnings call. They said that the Stranger Things it was entirely because of production schedules, and they would not want to do that in the future.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I believe him or not, because it did work really well. Yeah.
I heard some tap dancing there from Netflix. Is that?
It's also interesting that the international shows, and I know this because I watch a lot of Korean TV shows that show up on Netflix, they show up when they air. And so you end up watching them weekly because of the deal.
Okay.
So there are shows that show up on a weekly schedule on Netflix. It's not like they're 100% against it. Honestly, I think Netflix shouldn't be so dogmatic about it. Just do whatever seems to work for that particular show, which is what HBO Max does, right? That's why they do some shows, like Brian was saying, 3 at a time. Right. Other shows are 2 at a time. Some are out weekly. And finally, Netflix announced it had acquired Australia's Animal Logic animation studio. Animal Logic has been involved in such films as The Lego Movie and Happy Feet. So owning the production arm is a little bit of a bigger step than owning just the content like they did with Miller World. So I think Netflix may be trying to vertically integrate a little bit there. First step towards that anyway.
Does it limit creativity? You know, when the studio owns the streaming service owns Pixar. The studio? Okay, good point. All right, fair enough.
And I said finally on that, but that's actually not final. Netflix's iOS app now includes a sign-up button. This is not from the earnings report. That was all from the earnings report. Netflix's iOS app now includes a sign-up button that takes you to its website. That is something that Apple has not allowed. Up until 2018, Netflix allowed users to sign up for its service in the iOS app, but it had to share a cut with Apple. They stopped doing it in 2018, so they wouldn't have to share a cut with Apple. But if you got the Netflix app on iOS, there was no way of knowing how to subscribe. Apple has, for many reasons, some of them governmental in other areas like the Netherlands or Korea, some of them lawsuits like they're having with Epic, has updated its policy so that reader apps, which is what they consider Netflix, can offer an external link to create an account. So you'll click on it, you'll get a warning telling you, hey, you're going somewhere Apple isn't in charge of. It's not about us anymore. You're at your own risk. Then you'll show up at the Netflix site and you'll be able to sign up. And Apple won't get a cut.
And, you know, you'll be asked for your passport and somebody will stamp it. And then you'll be asked whether or not you're bringing
I don't think
any
Netflix will be
fruits
asking for anyone's passport, Brian.
Give them time.
Papers, please.
All right, let's talk about what to watch and Under Surveillance.
I like real estate. It's all about location.
Under Surveillance.
We probably all haven't seen all of these trailers, so you could just say pass or something as we go through them. But a ton of other non-Marvel stuff out of Comic-Con, including a teaser for Star Trek Picard showing Geordi LaForge, Dr. Crusher, and Worf, along with the other Next Generation cast members who have already shown up in Picard, all saying things indicating they're returning for season 3. And Paramount Plus announced that Boimler and Mariner from Star Trek Lower Decks will appear on a crossover episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. There's a trailer for season 3 of Lower Decks out. That's coming back August 25th. But apparently the crossover, Brian, which if you don't know, Strange New Worlds is live action, Lower Decks is animation. The crossover will still have Boimler and Mariner as animated characters.
Like animated characters in a human reality, or
I don't know if all of Strange New Worlds is going to go into animation world or what, how this is going to work.
All I know is that Lower Decks can do no wrong, full stop, bar none.
Strange New Worlds is fantastic. Lower Decks is fantastic. The meeting of them has me very intrigued and excited. Ibbott, where do you fall on these two?
Yeah, haven't seen the most recent season of Lower Decks, but we just finished binging Strange New Worlds, and it's the Star Trek series that I've been hoping for since probably Deep Space Nine days. A good, thin, overarching story, but then a lot of great problem resolution episodes within that, which I really, really like and need from my Star Trek. If they do this as, animated characters appearing on the bridge of the Enterprise, I think it's going to take you right out of the series. If they do it as a reality, or as I don't want to say multiverse, but something like that, where there's a reason that they're only able to communicate with these animated characters, then I'm a little more intrigued by how they do it.
Now, Robo Jeff in our chat room without a link is saying, no, they're going to play live action versions of themselves. So again, I read somewhere that they might stay animated, and I'm intrigued by that possibility. That may not end up turning out to be true.
Ahsoka Tano, basically.
Yeah. In which case, the actors that play Boimler and Mariner could easily show up and play live action versions of themselves, and that'd be awesome too. Brian, also the Lower Decks trailer has a bit about Deep Space Nine, and apparently they're going to spend a lot of time at Deep Space Nine in this coming season.
I am 100% in with whatever they want to do. They have unlimited credit.
We got a new trailer for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. That's coming September 2nd to Amazon Prime Video. Anybody got thoughts on that?
Oh man, those rings, so powerful.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I haven't seen the trailer for that one yet.
It was good. This felt like Lord of the Rings. Each one they've released has gotten a little closer to that. This was the first one that made me like all in. Can't wait. Feels like the original 3 movies, but not trying to imitate the original 3 movies. So I am now looking forward to Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. And it feels like they did a good job of saying, you know what, that sort of like bit at the beginning of the first movie of Lord of the Rings where they tell you what happened, we're just going to expand on that. That'll basically now serve as a previously on Lord of the Rings after this series comes out. Trailer for Netflix's Sandman series coming August 5th.
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excited for this. Never finished the comics, so looking forward to this maybe getting me back into wrapping all that stuff up.
Yeah, Brian, look, Brian to Brian, you made the mistake. You said anything other than hooray. Just when anybody says Sandman, you say hooray. When I say Sandman, you say hooray. Sandman.
Hooray.
Hooray.
Sandman.
Hooray.
There it is. Okay, you got it. All right, now we're back on track. Back on track.
John Wick Chapter 4 trailer. Anyone?
Watched it today. Looks like more of the same, except it's in Paris.
I was like, we've been in that room with the mirrors before. Is this a different movie? Did we watch the wrong trailer? Oh, nope. This is Chapter 4. Okay. Yeah. And honestly, I say that and I don't care. I'm going to watch this and enjoy it. That's what I come to John Wick for, is to see John Wick wicking people in the head. It's going to be great.
This is the sound of my brain shutting down, trying not to make puns about wicking.
Yeah. HBO Max Game of Thrones House of the Dragon new trailer. That's coming real soon, August 21st. Less than a month now.
Yeah, man. Boy, do I not care. Boy, do I not care. Couldn't care less. So dumb.
Real brave, Brian, when everybody, conventional wisdom is they hate Game of Thrones, to come out against Game of Thrones House of the Dragon.
Yeah, well, man, but I'm excited about Sandman, though. That's going to be great.
Hooray.
You know what would have made Game of Thrones better? Sandman.
Yes. Yes.
I'll be honest. I watched the House of the Dragon trailer and it had a lot of dragons, and I was like, I should be feeling something.
Besides sleepy, because maybe the Sandman was right behind you.
Hooray!
It's a dream come true. Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, Chris Pine as a bard.
I actually
really
rather like this.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I think this is kind of maybe what we wanted from our Warcraft movie a few years ago, something along these lines.
Yeah.
I think there's also a literacy among role players that didn't exist 10, 15 years ago, where we could play games and be like, oh, I get what they're doing. You know, they're like, hypothetically, for example, you might be able to go the whole movie watching characters do outrageous things, but never be upset because you know that what they're really doing is they're being argued about at the kitchen table for whatever reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we got a couple of DC trailers to talk about here. Shazam, Fury of the Gods, more Shazam being Shazammy with more Shazam pals.
I actually like this quite a lot as well.
Yeah. I looked at it and felt the way I felt about Thor Love and Thunder before and after I saw Thor Love and Thunder, which is I liked the other one. This looks like more of that. Thank you. I'll have some, please.
Yeah. Very well said. Yeah, the same comedic take that this appears to be the only place, this and Suicide Squad appears to be the only place where DC wants to use humor. That's fine with me. I'll take it.
You're right, because there was virtually no humor in the Black Adam teaser. That movie coming October 21st, very serious. Dwayne Johnson gonna be the hero you get, because there aren't any other heroes according to this trailer. So here's Black Adam.
Yeah. We should move on.
I liked it. But it's an entirely different tone, and I can't tell what the movie's about from this teaser. So maybe it'll be like Lord of the Rings, and we'll get like more stuff filling in the details as we go. All right, let's talk about what we've had our eyes on, starting with you, Brian. But what's something you've been watching lately you want to tell folks about?
Yeah, I've been speaking of AMC. We've brought them up a couple times. The series Dark Winds I've been watching. We're just a couple episodes from the end of the first season, and it's a great kind of murder mystery, multiple murder mysteries set in the Navajo Nation in the American Southwest, New Mexico, Arizona. Starts with a bank robbery, which, hey, look, you start your TV show with a bank robbery, you'll definitely get me hooked. But you've also got Rainn Wilson as this weird car dealer slash priest or preacher. You've got the main guy, Zen McClarnon, who we've seen in that first season of Westworld. I'm really enjoying it and hoping that it finishes as wonderfully as it starts. It's got a really, really nice character development, like a lot of time invested in learning who these characters are rather than just what this murder is and this mystery is.
It's got a really interesting lineage because it's based on a novel series by Tony Hillerman, who's kind of a thriller mystery writer, but it's got George R. R. Martin executive producing.
Yeah, and Robert Redford.
Yeah.
Were those two, those two working together again. But yeah, no, it's
Butch and Sundance, those two.
Right, but no, it has that sweeping feel like the more recent, 20 years ago, Robert Redford, Western kind of film.
Post Legal Eagles, Robert Redford.
Post Legal Eagles, right? Yes, post The Natural. Right. It's no, really enjoying it and hoping that the last two episodes live up to the promise set by the first four.
And this is on Hulu. Hulu? Is that where you're watching it?
I'm watching it on AMC Plus.
Okay. AMC Plus. Got it.
Which
excellent.
we all have for Better Call Saul anyway. Might as well watch this.
I don't.
Oh,
watching.
I've been buying all the apps.
Oh, have you really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's a reason.
I watch them
here's
on.
a reason just to pay monthly.
I watch them on DirecTV stream with my DVR, my cloud DVR, like an old man. Right after I watch 60 Minutes.
The old man, Tom. That's what I've been watching.
You don't say, Brian. What's it about?
It's about an old man. Jeff Bridges and John
Let's
Lithgow.
move on. No. Tell me
No. The season finale came out. It's a great show. Great show. Very, very good. I also went to the movie theater and saw Nope. That was fun.
Oh, yeah. We sort of realized at the end of the weekend that we had intended to see Nope and didn't. And I think we still want to, but you're giving it a good, go see it in the theater, or could we wait?
Yeah, no, go see it in the theater, partly because it was really surprising how much like an old-fashioned 1950s monster movie it felt like. And with a lot of Jordan Peele stuff, there's kind of a deeper layer of I'm also saying this about social commentary. None of that. It's just straight up a monster movie. Loved it.
Oh, very good. All right. I'm into it. So that none of you had to, I watched The Gray Man on Netflix on Saturday night. This is the movie that you can play a video game while watching. And I kind of think it's meant to be that. Netflix has this kind of feel to a lot of their stuff of like, we know a lot of you have this on in the background while you're doing something else, so we made it that way. It's Russo brothers. It's Ryan Gosling. It's got a stellar cast beyond Ryan Gosling. Loads of names you're going to recognize. Loads of people you're going to be like, wait a minute, where do I know that person from? And then you're going to use X-Ray. Well, you can't because it's Amazon. So you're going to pull out IMDb and look them up. But it is a great action movie. If you just want action, the plot is predictable. It's not as witty as Red Notice, so it's very much just about the action, but it's really good action. So if you're somebody who's like, man, I just want to see stuff blow up, I want to see Jason Bourne style, somebody on the run and outwit them at every maneuver with an amazing set of whatevers, then watch The Gray Man. If you want depth and surprise, don't watch The Gray Man.
Whatever you do, avoid The Gray Man.
If you're trying to catch up on those last few levels of Zelda Breath of the Wild, watch The Gray Man. Yeah,
I honestly, Eileen and I both sat and did other stuff while we had it on and would look up every once in a while and go, man, that's an amazing scene. And because of that, and because we kind of knew that going in, we enjoyed it. It didn't feel like a waste of time, but I feel like that's the thing to know going in.
Perfect.
It's dumb action film with big names, as Gauchum says. It's exactly what it is. All right, Bryce, what should we be on the lookout for?
Hey, we got an anime recommendation from Yaru, who writes, hey guys, I have a recommendation. We're on the lookout a 2021 anime show called Vivy, Fluorite's Eye Song, or you can just call it Vivy, V-I-V-Y. The story is set in the far future of 2156, where there's a sudden AI uprising against humans, and a scientist sends an unaffected advanced AI named Matsumoto 100 years into the past to undo this. Matsumoto's job is to contact the very first autonomous, self-aware android in history, which is a theme park AI that sings songs named Vivy, and recruit her to the mission. They have to live then through the next 100 years and change different acts in the course of human advancement. Yaru talked a lot about liking the dynamic of the characters, called it a cross between Terminator and Blade Runner and Ghost in the Shell, but maybe not as sad as those. Very highly recommended. They go in the US. Vivy is on Crunchyroll and Funimation, and you can buy it on the video stores as well. There's an English dub available. Yaru watched the original Japanese with subtitles. Thank you to Yaru. Yeah, there's 13 half-hour episodes, so it's a pretty short watch. And Yaru says that the storyline is complete, So you could jump into this and not have any worries about that. If you've got something we should be on the lookout for, please email it to us, cordkillers@gmail.com. Thank you.
Now, if you're sitting there thinking like, email, I need a computer for that. Well, sadly, Brian, there's just no helping them.
Yep, that's right.
Now, hold on there, Tom and Brian.
Whoa. What is this,
What?
Bryce? You never talk out of turn. What's happening?
You can get a computer from our friends at Doghouse Systems.
Wait a minute. That's the forbidden
Chincha?
phrase that we told you must never say. Say it again.
Lolly Lulelo. You gotta go to doghousesystems.com/rogue, and if you use promo code rogue, you'll get a free SSD, and you'll be helping us out. They make great computers. We use them here all the time. All three of these computers here at the studio are Doghouses.
Yep.
They're
But
great.
more importantly, it's not like we're about to build a brand new like $4,000 or $5,000 gaming beast of a PC and then give it away for free to somebody who follows us over at gimme.scamstuff.com.
What if I told you that was exactly the case? That you could go to gimme.scamstuff.com.
Then it would sound like I just teed you up nicely, in which case I'd say you're welcome.
Well, and I'm saying thank you. So check out doghousesystems.com/rogue. Get yourself a computer. They have the big thing for them is they do great customer support. We were with them shooting that thing, and they were telling us all these great stories of how they really try to make people's days. So, Doghouse Systems.
Like the stories are so good, Tom, that
I don't want to tell them
that we were like, hey, can we share that story? And they're like, oh no, but then everybody will expect that.
That's
It was amazing.
Customer service so good, you can't know about it. doghousesystems.com/rogue. Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Nielsen's The Gauge, that's the one that gauges how much people are watching streaming versus cable versus broadcast. The latest numbers are out estimating that streaming made up 34% of all TV viewership in the US in June. We watch this number because it's going to tell us when we're hitting that tipping point and everything's just going to go to streaming and cable's going to go away and all that stuff. 34% is a 6-point jump. It came mostly at the expense of cable TV, which fell 5%. Cable is still just barely in front of streaming with 35.1% of US viewing. Broadcast had 22.4% of viewing. Overall, total time spent watching TV of any kind, usually falls in the summer, rose 2% from May to June. Netflix had the lead with 7.7%, followed by YouTube with 6.9%, then Hulu with 3.3%, and Prime Video, Disney Plus, and HBO Max in that order, all below 3%.
Do you think that the more watching of the TV has anything to do with the fact that it's 128 degrees outside at all time?
I'm melting.
Yeah, it probably does in places where it's been very hot, which is a very large number of places, even in just the United States. We're not even talking about Europe with these numbers. I also think there's more TV. There's more good TV. We lose sight of the fact that there have never been more good television shows than there are right now. And so I think people take a little time away from other stuff and watch TV where they might not have otherwise.
Speaking of good TV, Disney Plus is going to add R-rated films Deadpool, Deadpool 2, and most importantly, Logan, starting July 22nd. In the announcement, Disney invited users to, quote, revisit their parental controls settings. I don't know, man. I think you're a better off kid if you just see Logan.
You showed it to your kids. I know you did.
I don't think that's the one that they're concerned about.
Yeah, it's probably the other two
Deadpool
that,
Yeah. And I think this blazes the trail for Disney Plus series to maybe take a few more risks and fall behind those parental controls, possibly Daredevil. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. As expected, the NFL officially announced NFL Plus, a mobile-oriented streaming service for watching NFL games. This is mobile, so it's not as big a deal as Sunday Ticket. NFL Plus is a combination of what Yahoo Sports used to offer and the NFL Game Pass service. Yahoo was free, so this is a price rise on that, but Game Pass was like $99 a year, so this is cheaper than that. It gives you mobile viewing of all live out-of-market preseason games, live, local, and primetime regular season and postseason games, and you pay $4.99 a month for the live games, plus a few other NFL Network shows, and $9.99 a month if you want to get more NFL films, as well as game replays and consolidated, condensed games and stuff like that. Ibbott, you follow the NFL. How do you feel about this?
I do, and so this isn't so Game Pass would still let you watch the out of market regular season games, right? This is just going to still be, as far as the regular season, your local stuff and prime time and live, the stuff
During
that you'd be able to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
The stuff you'd be able to watch terrestrially. So it's not quite getting to say, oh, I get to watch this Packer game no matter what.
That was Sunday Ticket, though.
That was Sunday Ticket, not Game Pass.
Game Pass was the one that let you watch the consolidated games after they were done and the replays.
That's right. Okay, yes. Sunday Ticket is what I'm confusing with.
And Sunday Ticket is still on DirecTV for one more season, and then it's going somewhere else. And the indication is it's going to be a streaming service.
And I can still do screen sharing from my mobile device to my television, right?
Maybe. Yeah. Sometimes they block it. Or at least try to block it. So
we'll have to see if
screen mirroring,
they do that with this.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, we shall see. But it is a big step for the NFL to take control of their own content in a way that they haven't in the past. And honestly, whether it's Apple or Amazon or Google who get NFL Sunday Ticket, NFL is going to be suddenly available, all digital, and honestly, that's what's going to push that phase change where everybody just starts going to cord cutting. I think if they're like, well, I don't even need cable for football anymore. Why am I keeping it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's move on to the dispatches from the front. Adam in San Diego writes, hey, Cord Killers, I wanted to say I have all the streaming services, but I also still have cable. And yes, it is true that I do not eat everything at the cable buffet. However, the problem I have and have always had is that most of the time I have no idea what I want to eat, and I don't want to think about it. I want to be able to walk up to one buffet at one casino with a large yet manageable diversity of every cuisine and go, ooh, crab legs. I never thought about crab legs, but that sounds delicious. I'm going to have that for dinner, and maybe a little pizza. Ooh, and stir fry. I'll save that for later. I'm not aware of a comparable buffet across all of my streaming services. If you know of one, please let me know. Until then, I'm happy to keep overpaying for the stupid cable buffet.
I actually do have what increasingly has been my go-to experience, which is I go to Rotten Tomatoes, RottenTomatoes.com. I just see whatever everybody else is excited about. Then I go to JustWatch.com, figure out where to get it, and I get it.
Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes, of course, pays for my health insurance. My wife runs their fast channel, among many other things. I always have to disclose that. But I think more people are not using cable the way Adam is using it. And in fact, Adam, if you had an Apple TV, which maybe you do, and maybe you just don't use it this way, or an NVIDIA Shield or a Google TV, they all have very good ways of getting rid of the idea of finding the app and having to decide what to watch and just showing you, oh, here are the shows you like to watch. And here's some recommendations. Pick something.
Yeah, his cable comparison is basically like, for him, he'd be going to the buffet, choosing the cuisine he wants, but opening his mouth and hoping that they throw the food into it, because he doesn't have control over when that food starts or when it ends. He just has to show up there with his mouth open and collect it and then move on to the next cuisine.
Yeah, it's a conveyor belt to his mouth.
Yeah, which is a live event that we're going to start offering from Cordkillers only to patrons. You show up and we're just going to throw food in your mouth. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's called the Cable Buffet, patreon.com/Cordkillers. Enjoy. That's going to do it for us. Brian Ibbott, thank you so much for being with us, man. I really appreciate this.
Oh, my pleasure. It was it's always great, and love talking about this stuff. The Marvel. I don't know if you can tell, but I kind of like Marvel, so getting to talk about all that stuff it kind of warms my heart. And,
but baby, what if I don't care about Marvel? What if I care about you? And what if I want to know what you're up to?
If you can come throw food in my mouth anytime at Coverville.com. It's a music show where I feature cover songs done by independent artists, usually focused around a certain musician who happens to be celebrating a milestone birthday or a landmark album, that sort of things. Recently, I've had Imagine Dragons, Don Henley, A Salute to Fast Times at Ridgemont High with songs that were in the movie but weren't on the album. A lot of them, surprisingly. The most famous songs from that movie weren't on the album. Of course, you can also find me on TMS just about every day, frogpants.com/TMS. That's the morning stream.
That was only 30% creepy.
Hey, do you know what Brian Ibbott does? He plays music legally in his podcast. And Brian Brushwood, do you know how music became legal to play on podcasts?
Yes.
No, you don't, because you haven't listened to the true story of how it happened. Coming soon to A Word with Tom Merritt. I sit down with Brian Ibbott and we talk about podcasts as our word. awordpodcast.com. Check it out. Brian Ibbott's episode coming out within the next 2 weeks, where he tells me a story I'd never heard before about how he was just driving around in a car, paving the way for us to be able to have a legal license to play music on podcasts.
Exactly.
So thank you for sharing that story with me, by the way. That was fascinating.
My pleasure. It was great to finally, get through a conversation, get to something that I never talked about on other, on interviews or anything like that. It was, I loved getting to share that slice of early podcasting history there.
And then tomorrow, Brian Brushwood, don't forget, I'm recording an interview with you about A Word podcast.
We'll see. I don't know that you can pin me down to get A Word with Brian Brushwood.
Who knows what secrets will come out of that. So awordpodcast.com for that. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is also carried on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Talk to you next time.
Hey, Tom Merritt, what's going on?
I'm just hanging out here watching this scroll go by. What are you doing?
Trying to set up a bit where we thank our beautiful, beautiful patrons, all these wonderful names.
I'm sorry, I'm too distracted looking at these beautiful, beautiful patron names going by. Look at that one. I mean, if you wanted to be one of these people, patreon.com/cordkillers would be the place to go.
I mean, they're scratching our itch, because we're addicted.
As long as it's consensual,
we're addicted to their money.
And love. Might as well face it.
Well, God damn it.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.